Hello guys, what is up? My name is Dylan. Welcome to the first official episode of the Popcorn Podcast. It's been a long time coming, and I'm finally super excited to launch this. Hopefully this is going to be not hopefully, it is going to be an ongoing thing. And I thought, what better way to kick off the podcast with my very good friends who will shortly introduce themselves. And we thought today's topic of discussion was none better, really, than to discuss the 2023 Oscar nominations, which came out, I believe, a couple of hours ago. So it's still very new, still very fresh. And yeah, guys, I would very much like to introduce my fellow guests, my fellow film comrades, enthusiasts, and filmmakers alike. So guys, take it away. I think we'll start with Mickey here to my right.
God.
So here we go.
What do you want me to say? Just introduce myself.
Dude, just introduce yourself.
My name is Mickey. I am a writer-director, and I also run a a startup production company. And I love film, and here to chat film.
Awesome. And to my
My
left.
company's called Look Aside.
Yes, that's correct. There we go. And to my left, we have...
My name's PANWA. I'm the original flick fanatic, the god of films, if
There
you
you
will, the Lord Commander of movie making. I have a YouTube channel called Flick Fanatics, and that's how
Yes.
Dylan and I met
it's a
through
very romantic story, actually.
the wonderful world of YouTube.
Yeah.
Dylan DM'd PANWA, right?
I actually
You
did.
And then you did a review for my film, which
I
was very
did.
touching.
I did.
Which brings me to the second thing, which is I also make films, and I'm not so bad at it, but sometimes I'm bad at it and sometimes I'm very good at it. And that is actually how I met our third guest.
Yes.
Yes.
Brown.
Mr. Number 3, Mr. Third Guest.
Yeah, no, I've worked with PANWA and I met Dylan and Mickey through PANWA.
This is Theo, by the way, guys.
Yes.
Theo Brown.
My name is Theo Brown and I make films. I've made a few films with PANWA at university and just general film lover as well.
Very good. Very nice. So, as I just mentioned, we are going to be talking about the Oscar nominations that just came out a couple of hours ago for 2022 as a year in film. So just before we do get into the nominations, guys, I do want to open up a little conversation segment. What does everyone think about the Oscars in general? What is everyone's attitude towards the Oscars? Do we like the Oscars? Do we not like the Oscars? Theo, let's start with you.
Well, I was talking to Mickey just before we started shooting and we were trying to save all the good conversations for the podcast.
Yeah.
But you did say something interesting, which was how the Oscars have become like a marketing... Well, they've always been a marketing ploy. Like since the original Oscars, they wanted to make films, give films a prestige and sort of it's another way of sort of spreading awareness for new films. But more than ever, you have big companies like Apple and Netflix really campaigning quite hard, and it's given the Oscars a different feel. I don't know what you have to say about that, Mickey, but
No, I agree. I mean, to me, the Oscars have definitely been always and have kind of lately since streaming there's been a lot more marketing involved, and this is not necessarily like a bad thing or a good thing. It's not black and white. What's the best film? What film what's the either critics' favorite or the people's favorite? It's, specific production companies pick films that then they market, they campaign. They can't really afford to campaign more than one, so a lot of films get left behind just because the company won't invest the time and energy into campaigning those to get awards and Oscars. I think of all kind of award shows, the Oscars is still the one that is a lot of shows, to not name them, but a lot of them are like advertising spots at the end of the day. I think the Academy definitely holds that prestige, and I think these past 2 years, 3 years, they've gone back to a better way. I think like from 2015 to 2020, they really lost their touch on like things they were nominating and what's going on. These last few years has been going really well in my opinion. But I don't like that it's not like, it can never be, it's never been probably like historically in film, it's never been to what the best film is, but it's been like which company can put most money into the campaign. And these are like multi-million-dollar campaigns, so it's a lot of work. So that's my issue with the Oscars, but it's not a criticism because it makes sense if you think about it.
I would say one of the best elements of the Oscars is spreading awareness for films that mainstream audience wouldn't have necessarily heard of.
Yep.
So, for example, for me, Sound of Metal, I saw that was nominated a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
and wanted to watch all the nominations. So I got to that. Moonlight obviously won Best Picture, which
Or La La Land.
La La
La La Land did for like 4 minutes.
yeah. Spotlight and Whiplash. I guess these films through the Oscars have become bigger names. And you know, Her was nominated. So yeah, there's definitely, you know, a good element, and also the stories behind the nominations as well. I always love a good Oscar story. Whether it's like Timothée Chalamet being the youngest, you know, nominee for his age in 90 years or something like that, or Matt Damon and Ben Affleck winning for Good Will Hunting, and Oscar romantic stories where, you know, will Leo finally win for The Revenant, or, you know, what will, you know, Matthew McConaughey have to say when he wins for Dallas Buyers Club?
For sure.
Those are the sort of Oscar moments that I think we've been missing in the past few years.
Yeah.
And I think the comedy's become a bit sterile with the host and stuff. You know, we used to have, who was the person that used to do a medley at the beginning of every Oscar in the 90s? Was it
Billy Crystal.
Billy Crystal.
Yeah.
And that was always fun. It always gave it a certain level
You
of
just have impromptu slaps.
yes. Yes, exactly. So I would like a return to sort of, you know, a slightly lighter 90s Oscars. I was watching when Robin Williams received his Oscar in Good Will Hunting, and, you know, he didn't make any political statements or anything. He just made a couple jokes about the people he worked with, you know, how Matt and Ben are super young, and he just made a few jokes and took it as an award, and it was very nice. I think nowadays it's people use it as a platform to sort of pitch whatever moral thing they want to pitch that year, which I find it's a good platform to do it. Leonardo did it with environmentalism and stuff. But yeah, sometimes you just want to just enjoy, you know, a celebration and not have it be too heavy-handed.
For sure. Somebody has done their research for this this episode for sure. I mean, for me personally, I think like since I was a kid, just hearing the Oscars, it was a big thing. I mean, like for a film to win an Oscar, I thought like, oh, it's, you know, it's got to be good. But of course, as I was growing up and sort of becoming more film literate, and you get to experience a wider range of films, you know, then so the Oscars become, you look at them differently. And I can't help myself every year when the nominations do come out. I do react in certain ways depending on the films, and, you know, of course I do want to see the films that I really liked getting the, you know, the recognition that they deserve, and when they don't, then obviously there is a tendency to, you know, just sort of, you know, not feel great. But I think overall, I think I agree with you. I think there was a period where it was really sort of becoming like just, oh, it's just the Oscars, this and that. But recently, I think they've been giving attention to a lot more diverse films for sure, and a couple have fortunately actually been nominated this time around, which I was very happy to see, which we'll get onto. Panwa, what about yourself?
So I actually have very much a love-hate relationship with it. I used to, like you, find it extremely kind of glamorous and sort of flamboyant, ostentatious, and it would be something that I would actually used to stay up for.
Yeah.
I would get like the Now TV like subscription for one day and then make a fake email account just so I can stay up and watch it, right? And I remember when Deakins won in he was nominated in 2017, won in 18. I was like doing laps of the room, like, oh my God, it's incredible. But, you know, contrary to what you and Mickey just said, actually, I think as the Oscars have become more diverse, as they have gotten a grip and a touch of what people, you know, what films people actually watch and what they love, and you know, as evidenced by these nominations, and nominated films that people have seen more of, in a way I almost feel as if they're losing a bit of that prestige and a little bit of that glamour, because it's almost as if, you know, there was that running joke about how the films that were nominated for Oscars were kind of these old white people films that no one had ever seen. And now it's almost become films that are just kind of like the TikTok generation, where everyone can just sort of like, oh my God, like, not to spoil it, but like Everything Everywhere at Once has been nominated. This is it's such a win for everyone. Like, oh, f off. It's a great film, but you know, I feel as if now people's reactions to the Oscars are not what they used to be.
Yeah.
And the respect that they have and the respect that the name itself, the brand itself commands is not what it used to be.
Absolutely.
I used to think like, oh my God, it would be the greatest achievement of my bloody career if I got to go up there and hold an Oscar and, you know, thank all the people that I love and then, you know, give the bird to all the people that I hated or, you know, whatever. It's magical. And like Theo said, the brilliance of it was people who used to go up there and be genuinely grateful for films and be genuinely grateful for the things, the people that have helped them got up to that bloody stage and hold that golden trophy. It ain't that anymore. It's people going up there talking about what he said.
Yeah.
And that sells these days.
Mm.
Humanity and heart and just being grateful and appreciating the fact that you get to stand up there doesn't sell these days,
Yeah.
right? Or at least not as much as it used to. McConaughey going up and saying, all right, is no longer cool these days, apparently. That is what's fun.
Yeah.
Not for me.
I think something really bright coming to the Oscars soon is that, you know, now the Academy is definitely like not diverse enough, but also the age of the Academy is very, you know, there's a change that has to be made. And now this generation of filmmakers, especially filmmakers in their 40s, 50s right now, and actors as well, and writers, directors, that line is getting blurred so much. So a writer, director is now a producer. Often actors are opening their production companies left and right. So when they are accepted into the Academy one day, there's going to be a huge generational shift into who actually votes for these things. And we're going to see, like, in 20, 30 years, a massive, you know, change into what we see nominated, just because the people voting for the nominations is going to be, they're going to be people who are seeing the industry in a whole different light.
For sure.
Because that's the thing now. Like, now the Academy is voting for these films that are, you know, shaping the industry, but the Academy, the people in the Academy, in a lot of ways, are from a different industry entirely, especially since streaming. Like, it's in the past 10 years, this is like a whole new age of film. So there's a massive shift coming soon, I think.
Can I just say one thing before we move on to the nominations, which I think makes this year's list of nominations actually really great, in my opinion. Sometimes we have years in which it's just the old guard, where you see Scorsese, Spielberg, Ridley Scott, James Cameron, whatever. And that's great. But then some years you have, say, something like 2016 to 17 with La La Land, Manchester by the Sea. That was a great year, Moonlight and everything. But it was all new people.
Yeah.
It was all, except for maybe Mel Gibson for Hacksaw Ridge. And what I always love is when there's a bit of a balance.
Yeah.
And this year, you know, you have Avatar, obviously James Cameron, you have Steven Spielberg, Fabelmans, but you also have the newer talent of the Daniels for Everything Everywhere. You have someone like Todd Field and Tar, who is not quite as well known, but will become well known. You know, so in my opinion, the Oscars is at its best when it is respecting its past just as much as it is embracing the future.
It's a really
That's
good point.
Beautiful way of putting it, honestly.
I am a wordsmith.
You really are. And that, guys, is why I have PANWA on the podcast. Just before we do get on to the nominations, very, very quickly, general consensus. How does everyone feel about 2022 as a year in film? Do we like it?
I thought 2022 was incredibly strong.
Okay. And I'm going to go to PANWA last because I know he has some things to say.
Yes.
Theo, what about you?
Well, and my initial reaction to that question when you asked it a couple of days ago was, 2022 was great. But actually, PANWA
Opened his eyes.
PANWA then opened my eyes and said the expectation was so high and it really didn't live up to it, except for when all these random films that we hadn't been expecting came through and ended up being the better ones. So, for example, this year we had Everything Everywhere All at Once, Triangle of Sadness, Argentina 1985, Living, RRR, and The Batman. Well, The Batman was already, you know, had a high expectation, but those other ones, we weren't really, that wasn't on my radar until they sort of came across, and then I was like, okay, well, these ones are the best ones of the year. Things like Top Gun and Babylon were very good experiences as well, but the things that maybe the expectation was higher, but then wasn't as good maybe as the previous film that it came from. So Avatar, which we have differing opinions, but I thought was solid but not as good as the first one. Or Glass Onion was solid but not as good as the first one. Nope was good but not as good as Get Out. Banshees was good but not as good as In Bruges or billboards.
Banshees
These
is a funny one.
These are
Yeah.
all of, obviously my personal opinions.
Yeah.
But the expectation was super high, and I felt like a lot of the time I was sort of not. It was never superseding my expectation. It was always sort of on it or under it. For those, but yeah, PANWA.
Yeah, so with each year of film that comes out, I find it very interesting that I one of the things I try to do is almost see if like 2021 was the year of. 2022 was the year of what? For me, 2021 was the year of big blockbusters, of the return of big blockbusters that were done the classic way.
Yeah.
Whether that be Dune, No Time to Die, West Side Story, the Snyder Cut, right? No Way Home, even to a certain extent. And I can see that very clearly. Like if you look at my top 10 list, the only two films that one could consider small or indie that year that were on that list were Malcolm and Marie and The Green Knight. Everything else was mainstream or big to a certain extent. And they were mainstream and big, but done in a classy and with craftsmanship.
Yeah.
2022, was the year for me of big films that ended up disappointing, or the year of films that were meant to be great that ended up not being great. And I elaborate. You had films that didn't even come out, such as The Killer or Killers of the Flower Moon, which ended up come up this year. You had films like, Marvel films. We were coming off such a high from Marvel films, with obviously Black Widow being met, but Shang-Chi, Eternals, and then No Way Home, 1, 2, 3 punch, and then you go into Doctor Strange and Thor: Love and Thunder, which tanked it for a lot of people, Theo included. You had, films that were delayed, such as big superhero films that were delayed, such as The Flash and Aquaman 2, leaving us with The Batman, which may be the only film to come out last year that completely met expectations.
Now you have Black Adam. Like, come
Black
on.
Adam, what the hell? But most importantly, you had loads of films that people were so hyped for that weren't blockbusters, but ended up fizzling out completely, such as Amsterdam. Right? Amsterdam was so highly anticipated, one of the greatest casts of all time, fizzles out.
Absolutely.
Doesn't even like make a dent. And then you have films that make dents in the wrong way. By the way, Empire of Light, also another film that I wanted to love. Kind of fizzled out for me.
Don't Worry
as
Darling
much as I love.
well.
I was going to say that.
Big one.
Don't Worry Darling came, it exploded onto the scene, but for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And then just came and went. And it was a year of films coming and going without much fanfare. And that for me is why I actually felt 2022 was very disappointing, but saved by the unexpected,
Yes, Triangle of
gems.
Sadness, Argentina, RRR, The Living, all of these films that weren't on the radar, but kind of saved 2023.
I judge my years by just a very simple, how many films blew me away this year? Because every year there's great films. Every year, like, if you look hard enough, every year has amazing films. But I'm talking how many films, like, blew me away, like 5 out of 5, super solid. And I think 2021 for me was what you say, because 2021 was the year initially that all of us were like, oh, all these, Corona releases, all these, like, postponed things, they're all going to come on all at once in 2021. And then 2021 I found really disappointing.
Oh, wow.
I found 2021 had, like, one film that I was, like, blown away.
What was your
by.
favorite?
What was it?
I loved what did I love most? I'll check my letterbox.
Sure.
I'll tell you. But 2020 had a lot of good stuff. But 2022 I had like 4 films that have been like, for me, like flawless almost. Like no film is flawless, but like really. So the way I judge it is like, you've got your films that are great, but then you've got your films that like, to me, resonate so hard. So 2022 I had so many of those. The Lost Daughter, 2021.
That was your favorite?
I love.
You weren't the biggest fan of The Lost Daughter, were you?
No.
That was
Carlton
Maggie
Johnson,
Gyllenhaal with...
Tea Time Pictures. Love the company. Great company. They do amazing things.
We'll get onto it in a second when we talk about it, but I said to Theo and Dylan when I saw it with them, After Sun is what I hope Lost Daughter would have been. I much preferred After Sun. They're quite similar films.
They
both have Paul
in
Mescal.
atmosphere, definitely.
But I loved After Sun, and I was immensely underwhelmed by The Lost Daughter. But hey, that was
Dylan,
last year.
what do you think about the year in film?
I personally think I'm a mix of both, because I think I share a lot of the same favorites as you guys, but I also have the more sort of obscure films, like, for example, Cha Cha Real Smooth, which the pair of us loved. You didn't love.
No.
I don't know if you've even seen it, Theo. I think 2022, apologies. I personally think it was a great year in film. I don't know how it holds up to 2021, but what I can say about 2022 with regards to blockbuster films is that it's clear that the elephant in the room, which is Marvel. You know, the films that came out in 2022 just they were for the majority of the time misses.
Plus TV shows as well.
Plus TV shows are incredibly. So I think overall it wasn't a great year for Marvel. One of the worst years, I'd say, in years for sure. And because of that, people looked to these other films that weren't technically part of big franchises. And I know I say that, and then I'm going to say Avatar as well, and it's like one of the biggest franchises ever. But Avatar, of course, made its return.
It's the artful blockbuster.
It is. It
Top
really
Gun,
is.
It's Avatar.
Yeah. And Top Gun
Batman.
Maverick, to anyone who doesn't know, was my personal favorite film of 2022, despite not me thinking it is the best film of 2022. But like just those big action blockbusters that really remind you why going to the movies and experiencing the sheer size and scale of those projects are really worth it was the sort of the magic for me this year. So Avatar, Top Gun Maverick, even like something like The Northman, which I know a lot of people didn't see and it didn't turn out to be super profitable, I thought was really
Incredible film.
Really great
film.
And it's quite sad because that the film didn't do well, because I think it was one of the few films that I've seen recently that have really maintained an artistic vision to it. A film of that size, and to see that was just really
shocking
special.
That got made.
Yeah,
shocking.
it really
the
is.
Studio paid
So
80 million for that film.
90 million.
Can I say
That's
something to
shocking.
Mickey that I said to you the other day?
Go for it.
This doesn't really have much to do with the current climate of films, but actually it does. So what I said to Dylan the other day was, we were going through our list of underrated films and films that we felt were underappreciated. Now, we are all around the same age. We grew up being told by everyone to hate the prequels. We grew up being told by everyone that Michael Bay's Transformers films are, awful. What I realize now that I'm a bit older and I can think and speak for myself is that these films are a class of blockbuster filmmaking that we no longer get, but are slowly but surely coming back. Because in the 2010s, the most celebrated films generally were the smaller films that were dense, that were intricate and detailed. Your Social Networks, your Parasites, your Hereditaries, right? Your Blade Runner 2049s, even though that was quite big. But your Whiplashes and Birdmans. I said to Dylan the other day that for me, one of the last true epic masterpieces made was Pirates 3. All right. Now, again, this has nothing to do with blah, blah, blah.
Expensive film of all time.
4 was the most expensive film of all time, but it was made with absolute no craftsmanship or understanding of how blockbusters are made. Pirates 3, I said to Dylan, how cool is it that with a film like, for example, Revenge of the Sith, you get Anakin and Obi-Wan. If this was made in the 2010s, they would be fighting in like a grey room, like they were in The Last Jedi. But no, they were fighting in a volcano and stuff was exploding everywhere and it was slow motion and stuff was like blowing in the wind and everything was awesome. And you had that with The Northman, right? Yeah. Awesome. Now, you have something like Pirates 3 where at the end, there are 2 ships firing at each other in a maelstrom. It's raining. So just from a production point of view, that would have been a nightmare. And you have Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley getting married whilst explosions go off and people are fighting in the background. That's partly why Theo actually liked Babylon. We'll talk about Babylon in just a second. But part of the wonder of that film is all the extras, all the explosions, all the fun. And most filmmakers who people label the greatest of this generation, whatever, could not make a Pirates, could not make Transformers 2 with the fucking robot testicles in their dreams. Let me tell you that. So what I'm so proud of with last year with Top Gun and Avatar and Batman is that we are going back to filmmaker-driven blockbusters, because at the end of the day, when you look back to Lawrence of Arabia, Ben-Hur, and all the rest of those epic films, people go for spectacle just as much as they go for deep, emotional, whatever. And I'm glad that in the next few years, we're going to have filmmakers go big, right? With Scorsese, with Killers of the Flower Moon and whatnot. And I'm very happy to see a resurgence, like you said, in blockbuster films that are driven by actual auteurs, because that's something we've been missing in the last decade.
Well, I think you put that perfectly, mate. Honestly, I think that is the best sort of segment entry into, I think, the nominations. I think everyone's given a good sort of overall consensus on 2022. So yeah, let's go straight into it. We're going to kick off the nominations with a personal favorite and go forth with a bang. Let's do best cinematography first. So we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths, Elvis, Empire of Light, and Tar. So
I have some things to say.
You want to kick this one off?
Why
Go
not?
for it, man.
So first of all, Tar, sure, it was nominated, and we've all seen Tar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The long take scene was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
It was just incredible. Great cinematography, great everything. And my biggest compliment to Tar, though, was that the filmmaking felt invisible.
Yes.
It doesn't call attention to itself. So cool that they nominated it. Empire of Light, they're just doing it for Deakins. They're just doing it for Roger Deakins. Fair enough, he's deserved it. And my favorite was Bardo.
Yes.
I can't speak too much about Elvis or All Quiet because there wasn't anything that stuck out to me.
Yeah.
But Bardo is an incredible film, and the reason I think it's incredible is because it's shot by this guy Darius Khondji, one of my favorite cinematographers. However, if you've watched any film this guy's shot, be it Delicatessen, into Seven, into The Lost City of Zed, or The Immigrant, or even Okja, you'll notice, or even Uncut Gems. He shot Uncut Gems.
Wow.
Great portfolio of work. You'll notice that every film he does, he establishes a consistent visual style.
Yep.
Bardo does not have that. Bardo is so all over the place, and there is so much visual diversity.
That's the point of that film.
Exactly.
It's like
it's incredible. It is a trip.
It seems like a cinematographer's dream.
It absolutely does.
That's one of those films where I think if I saw on my laptop at home, I would have not liked as much as I did. And in the cinema, I loved it.
Oh, you saw it in the cinema?
We went to the premiere for
the
this.
premiere.
Lucky bastard.
Incredible.
Interview
Bong
to,
Joon-ho was
announce
like,
it.
incredible.
It was like truly just it was a visceral experience, but it didn't feel. It felt like not really a film.
It
if that
flew
makes
as well.
sense. It
3
felt
hours.
like just visual, trippy. This like mesh of things that was great.
I hope Bardo wins, by the way. I hope it wins.
Bardo wins.
But you
There's
know what?
2 massive snubs in that.
Well, yes, Nicky,
I've got
go,
some
because I know you want to talk about it.
My massive snub is Babylon.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
There is no. I think Babylon was snubbed on like almost everything. But I think Babylon being snubbed for cinematography, because I knew because of the reception that it wouldn't be Best Picture. I knew it pains me that Margot Robbie wasn't nominated. We'll get into that. But I was hoping that it would at least nail like almost all, technical categories, but not cinematography is insane. That film is incredibly good looking.
I wrote in my review when the butterfly lands on his shoulder, I was like,
insane.
This is Linus Sandgren's finest work today.
Insane.
Beautiful.
Can I ask you, lads, whilst we're on the topic of cinematography, in your opinions, what was the best looking or the best cinematography or the one you want to win? Nominated or not nominated?
Probably Bardo for me of the year.
I think it's between Bardo and Babylon.
Yeah.
Can we talk about some of the snubs?
I would love to, yes.
I'd say Northman was snubbed.
Oh, yes,
I'd say Northman was snubbed.
I'd even say The Batman for me. I think what they did,
That's
I
what
think
I had on my list.
they used old lenses as opposed to new ones. They went for those, and just the
did
way
they shoot digital and then print on film?
I think so.
And then record that.
And just the way who shot the film, Greg Fraser, just dirties up the frame. Like one of the biggest compliments I can give to the Batman is how much it envelops you in this version of Gotham City, and the cinematography is absolutely incredible. Just it's definitely personally, I think it's a contender for the most beautiful looking comic book film maybe ever. I'm not too sure.
That's not a bad shout.
I really do, and I think the Batman. There's another category that when we'll get to, I think it got massively snubbed for. Sure. But the Batman, even something like "Don't Worry, Darling," I really enjoyed from Matthew Libatique. Nope as well with Hoyte van Hoytema. The way that they shot those nighttime sequences, they actually shot in the day, and then
like House of the Dragon, but it worked for Nope.
Exactly. I've never seen nighttime sequences look that stunning.
It's quite technically unique. Actually.
Yes,
it really is.
You don't notice a lot of it because it does. Like I think Jordan Peele has that issue now that he'll have forever with like every film that we watch of his. We're gonna be like, is it gonna be as good as Get Out?
Yeah.
And even if it's not as good, it can still be a good film, which I think Nope is to an extent. And but technically, we don't appreciate it enough just because we look at the whole picture.
Jordan Peele has gotten better and better and better as a director, as a technical director,
as
of
a technical
visuals,
director,
audio
100%,
visuals.
100%.
Actually, whilst we're on this, can I bring up one thing that me and Theo were definitely going to say? Living, the Bill Nye film.
Literally was about to say.
I haven't seen it.
I'll just describe it very, very quickly. In my opinion, the reason Living deserved to be nominated is, of course, films that are shot in the boxy aspect ratio, 4:3, whatever, typically tend to get nominated just because it's unique and it's cool, guys. But what was great about Living was that the film takes place in sort of, when is it? 1950s?
1950s, I think.
London. And it's London. And it's in the suburb. And it's in offices. But every damn shot in that film looks incredible because of how interesting the framing is and how well lit the film is.
For sure.
Talk about lighting. But like, It's good, isn't it?
Oh.
Tell the audience.
It's phenomenal. There's certain moments in the snow at the end of the film where you're really quite mesmerized. A couple other snubs, well, not snubs, because I wouldn't necessarily trade them out, but a couple other films that I thought had fantastic cinematography as well was obviously Top Gun Maverick. That would have been a feat to film.
Absolutely.
And the last but not least, what was on my mind? I just had it. I've lost it.
It'll come back to you.
It'll
honey.
come back to me.
Decision to Leave? No?
That should have been up there too.
I think it was
Oh, Argentina
Decision to Leave
1985. I
Mhm.
thought Argentina 1985 is being very underrated film in the Oscars.
good stuff. Overall, I think it's a really beautiful year for cinematography.
I think so.
For sure. But moving on to production design, we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar, The Way of Water, which is is a funny one, Babylon, Elvis, and The Fabelmans. Very quickly, what do we all think was the biggest snub of production design?
Batman.
Batman. I mean, Batman is up
100%.
there. I think Babylon because.
It got nominated though, right?
Babylon's one.
Oh my god, yeah. What
Yeah.
am I talking about? Of course, yeah, no, Babylon. I think Babylon. Sorry, that's what I meant. Babylon, I think, is gonna take it.
It has to.
I don't think. I haven't seen The Fabelmans yet, but I know you guys have.
It just takes place in houses and schools and
Yeah. But Babylon, just being a celebration of that era of Hollywood, just offers up so much diversity from a production design standpoint. I mean, you watch the film; it speaks for itself. Avatar.
They shot that opening 30-minute sequence. They shot it on location.
Yeah,
That's not a studio.
incredible.
Yeah.
Insane. Insane.
that's awesome.
I heard, by the way, just a quick story about that. That the the silent movie set where
Yeah,
Margot
yeah.
Robbie gets on her first job.
Yeah.
Apparently that thing took like 20 weeks to build.
Yeah.
And by the way, when we say production design, I think it also covers like props and and all that kind of jazz as well. Jazz, pun intended. But Babylon is fantastic in that regard because we talk a lot about the Batman filling up every frame, and dirtying it up and giving texture.
Yeah.
The props, the set, the colors that they chose, intentional, precise to create chaos, but controlled chaos, and that is an incredible achievement.
This podcast is just us drooling over
Yeah,
Babylon.
it really
for
is.
30 minutes.
It'll be me and you drooling
No,
over
but
Babylon, and this
it's-
guy's
yeah,
about to
yeah,
go to town.
Did you not
There
like
has
it?
to be balance.
We'll get there. We'll get there. So, costume design. We have Babylon, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
Oh my
I
god!
haven't seen this. Mr. Paris.
I think it's a film about costumes and dresses
Right.
and
It's a
stuff.
film
So,
about
I mean, it has.
Mrs. Harris who goes to Paris.
That's the one.
It's like if Phantom Thread didn't win
Yes.
costume design.
Yeah.
Yes. Costume design. Anyone? What are we thinking?
I don't think it's a snub, but you know what had great costume design?
Go for it.
X and Pearl. They
Ah,
had a great costume
Yeah.
design. I don't think because it is simplistic, so I wouldn't say it's a snub to the point of
yeah.
I'm not gonna compare Pearl to Elvis or Babylon,
Yeah.
but it had great costume design.
It did.
It really and production design as well. That's why I didn't shout it out because it's simple, but it works really coherently.
Yeah.
Mm.
Any preferences, Dylan?
I think, once again, I think Babylon, even Black Panther, I think has a good shot. I think
Yes.
the costumes in that were incredible. Elvis as well. I don't think you can count Elvis out for this particular category just because it's so flashy and so extravagant. And it's Baz Luhrmann. We know how how he shoots films. I think it's either going to go to Black Panther or Babylon personally.
Dylan, you quite like the design of Don't Worry Darling. Do you think that was snubbed in this category?
That's a good question. You say the thing is, I did like the design. I liked the aesthetic of Don't Worry Darling. But for costumes, I'm really trying to think of a standout costume in the film, and for some reason, maybe it's just due to my distaste of the film over time, but I can't really think of
Is it 1950s?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's not too difficult to get dresses that
Yeah.
look incredible.
It's a very pretty film, but yeah, I mean the costumes were great. Like Florence Pugh looks great in whatever she's wearing. Harry Styles looks great in whatever he's wearing. But it's very simplistic, and like you said, I'm not too sure it's the most challenging of costumes. But something like Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, you really need to sort of go all out with that. But yeah, moving on, we're gonna go to makeup and hairstyling, which I mean I don't think we usually talk about that much when it comes to it. So I think it's definitely worth bringing up. So we have All Quiet on the Western Front, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Elvis, and The Whale. So just very quickly going around, out of those nominations, guys, what do we think is taking home?
I'm not seeing The Whale, but does that count the fat suit as well? Because when Gary Oldman did it for Darkest Hour, he won for the fat suit.
Yeah, so I'm assuming it does.
Yeah.
And I think The Whale is probably going to take it.
Yeah.
Either that or The Batman, what they did with Colin Farrell in the Batman.
2 fat suits this year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is crazy. Completely.
You're very lucky.
2 whole fat suits.
I know, right? What they did with Colin Farrell in that film, he looks completely unrecognizable.
He does.
Yeah, I think.
No. 3 fat suits. They put Austin Butler in the.
Oh
Remember?
yeah, they did.
I think makeup hairstyling, a snub, is Everything Everywhere.
Yes.
Because Everything Everywhere relied on the makeup to make these universes and as statements, and some of that makeup has gone like really. My girlfriend is a makeup artist, so we were talking about like iconic makeups that she's like replicating, and she mentioned that like that. I don't know if you remember the third act, like almost last sequence of Everything Everywhere. She's got this like distorted look, like. That she's like, that's gone so like social media, that's gone super iconic.
Right.
Yeah.
And she's like, immediately that's made such a like impact on makeup world and like overall on that world. So I think that's definitely a snub there.
For sure.
I haven't seen All Quiet on the Western Front yet, but I'm curious like oh sorry, I'm looking at a different category. That's not nominated for makeup, is it?
Not just that, no.
Yeah.
The All Quiet on the Western Front.
It's got a lot of love.
It's got a lot of nominations.
A lot of nominations.
And there's always usually that one outlier, isn't there? And I think this is it for this
I told
year.
Dylan, I'm so pissed off at myself. The other day I was like, should I watch All Quiet on the Western Front or should I watch The Good Nurse? And I watched The Good Nurse and I was like, I should have watched All Quiet on the Western Front.
It's a good film, but I don't think it's anything like as far as war movies go.
Yeah.
It's no like 1917 or Dunkirk or Saving Private Ryan or anything like that, or no Hacksaw Ridge. But I'm glad that it's nominated.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But sure,
Awesome.
let's
Great.
move on.
So next up we have visual effects, and we have All Quiet on the Western Front. Surprise, surprise. Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and Top Gun: Maverick. And I don't want to speak for you guys, but
Avatar?
I think, is there any point discussing this one?
Yeah,
I mean, it's incredible. But moving on, we are gonna go to sound design, as I think they used to call it. Let me just find the nominations. That's there. So for sound, we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Elvis, and Top Gun: Maverick.
I wonder why All Quiet on the Western Front was nominated for sound, considering it was so quiet on the Western Front.
Theo did say keep the puns going.
That's the first. That's the first.
Keep the puns going. Do you know what's a sound snub? Is Nope, I think.
Okay.
There is a video essay on the sound of Nope.
Thomas Flight.
Yeah, it is.
Shout out.
And shout out. And it's really, he goes really in depth to like talk about the world that we see created and how vital sound is in that. And he explains it much better than I do. So if you're curious about the sound of Nope, Thomas Flight, but that's a snub, I think.
He also did a video on the sound of the Batman as well, which was very, very cool. So I definitely recommend checking that one out. But yeah, so for sound,
has Babylon been snubbed in this category?
Yeah.
Of course it has.
I thought the sound design along with the cinematography, because they have, moving from silent pictures to talking pictures, they have certain scenes that, require a lot of detail in terms of the sound design.
That's a very good point.
It is, yeah.
And actually what I noticed in Babylon, I don't know if you noticed this too, sometimes the synced dialogue would be slightly off.
Yeah.
So when Manuel was talking, occasionally his lips weren't moving to the synced sound. I think that was on purpose. I think that was on purpose because they were potentially trying to recreate
maybe
a sort of older aesthetic. I noticed that 3 or 4 times in the film.
So you're saying that hips don't lie, but lips do.
I am
as like having worked on sets. How accurate is that scene in Babylon with the sound?
Yeah.
That was like, I was watching it, I was like, this is my life.
Yeah.
Like, this is my life.
I said to Dylan, Okay, I said this to Dylan, and we can add this to the Babylon
Yeah.
section of the clip, whatever. That scene where PJ Byrne goes like, "I will literally shit in your face,
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
sneeze one more time." I did that with someone closing a door once because we were doing a take, and someone shut a door. And when I'm angry, I don't shout like PJ Byrne. I'm very quiet.
Did you literally do it, or did you threaten them?
No, I did not shit on their face, but unfortunately.
But you said you would.
So basically, I'm really like, when I'm getting angry on
Yeah.
set, I don't know about you guys, but I'm really like quiet and articulate. And so what I said was, if someone's shutting the door, I go, "We're in the middle of a take, so if you're going to shut the door, shut it with decisiveness and precision, please." And then they squeaked the door, and then I yelled out at them saying, "That was not decisive nor like, nor precise. Can you do it better next time?" You know, so that was such an accurate and iconic little moment.
Incredible sequence.
Yeah. Speaking of sound, all your voices sound very, very crispy.
Good.
Anyways, moving
bad
on.
crisp.
So next up we have music, original song. We have Applause from Tell It Like a Woman, Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick, Lift Me Up from Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Natu Natu from RRR, and This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I think this is a clear winner.
Yeah, I mean I haven't seen RRR yet, if that's what you're gonna say.
Yeah, that's exactly.
But I mean, it won the Golden Globe, I'm pretty sure, and I don't know, the critics' choice as well.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. So I think that's the one that's, I think.
Listen, I'm not a music critic. And,
Yeah.
I like what I like.
Yeah.
So when I played all of these songs earlier in the kitchen, that was the only song that I wanted to replay.
Very nice.
One thing about Lift Me Up though.
Yeah.
So I've noticed this trend, guys. I don't know if you noticed this over the years with Oscar films.
Mm.
There's always one song that is like stand up, speak up, lift me up, you know,
This Is Me.
lift up.
Yeah.
And there was one year, I think it was the same year This Is Me was nominated. There was a song called Stand Up, I believe.
Mm.
And because they did This Is Me and they did Coco, the Remember Me.
Yeah.
And when they did This Is Me, everyone stood up, they were clapping, they were cheering, they were having a good time. And this song Stand Up, or whatever it was called at the time, they sang it and no one was really into it. And then they had to say stand up. And I was like, no, please no. So every year, next year, there'll be one called like Pull Up or something like that, you know, or like Hook Up. There's always a song like, with a similar name to that.
PANWA, would you prefer to hold my hand or lift me up?
I hold your hand,
Thank
okay, because I want that song to win with Lady Gaga next to win.
Yeah. It's a good end credit song for Top Gun there. So moving on to one of my personal favorites, we have music, original score. And the nominees are All Quiet on the Western Front, Babylon, The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and The Fablemans. So does anyone want to go
take
first?
it away.
If
Take it
Babylon,
away.
if Babylon doesn't win, I'm gonna be so pissed off. That score, I've not had a score stuck in my head as much as Babylon since La La Land.
Yes.
Mm.
That score is.
That's
I'm
Dustin
literally-
Hurwitz, man.
I swear, since the last hour, I've been singing in my head. Da, 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 da. The whole, it's so catchy. Like I've been listening on the tube here.
They also need to win because it's revenge for him not even getting
Get
nominated,
nominated for First Man. Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for bringing this up. I will fight anyone right now about the score for First Man.
Yes, it's
It
the
won
best.
the Golden Globe,
It's so good.
but didn't get nominated for the score, Justin Hurwitz's First Man score. If anyone hasn't listened to the First Man score or hasn't seen the film, just go onto YouTube and type in Justin Hurwitz, The Landing.
And Crater as well.
Incredible.
Those
Incredible.
two pieces together.
Beautiful. Like,
You know how Babylon has the theme from La La Land?
yeah,
Yes,
some
it does,
similar
somewhere in the
motives.
crowd.
Does First Man as well, or am I misremembering?
I'm
that?
not sure, but I did see Damien Chazelle saying that the somewhere in the crowd bit in Babylon was intentional.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know if I'm misremembering it, but I really think when I saw First Man, I thought the same thing. Somebody Google that and let me know. I have no idea because I remember I was like, oh my god, this guy put his theme in his other film as well.
Is Justin copying himself? No.
They also had, not score related, but they'd had the Eugene O'Neill reference in
Eugene
Babylon.
O'Neill,
Yeah.
yes, they did.
And there was that in Whiplash as well. But yeah, so I do agree with you. I think Babylon is going to take it. I think it's such an incredible score. I mean, Justin Hurwitz, I think personally, is one of the best composers working today. I think when it's all said and done, he will be one of the GOATs. And I also want to say that it's so great to see Justin Hurwitz and Damien Chazelle as one of the sort of few director-composer duos working today that, you know, just really get it. Like, I'm pretty sure the pair of them have been working together since like college or whatever.
Yeah.
They seem like really, really
Same
good
with
friends.
Coogler and Goranson.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also telling of Damien Chazelle as a filmmaker, because you can tell this guy knows his music, and whenever a director knows that, even like I remember when Ludwig Göransson did Tenet, and he was so surprised at how much, how musical Christopher Nolan was, which was a nice surprise.
That was another Oscar snub.
That was another Oscar snub. Yeah, exactly. I also want to say, so Interstellar as well. I mean,
Hans
Zimmer. I mean, that's like personally one of the greatest scores of all time. Didn't win, but the original score for me is always like I always get really caught up with this one when like my favorite score of the year doesn't get the love.
Dylan is really into scores.
I really am.
What was your favorite of this year then? Batman.
Yes. And that for me, out of all these nominations, this was for me the biggest snub. I think Michael Giacchino's score for the Batman. Incredible score. I love how Michael Giacchino makes his scores, how he uses real orchestra. He's one of the few composers working today who really has a respect for the traditions of the past when it comes to making these big epic scores. He's one of the best composers working today, and like he's one of the most in demand as well. And I can see why. Yeah, for me, the Batman score it was my favorite score by a mile.
What was your favorite theme from the film?
So this is actually interesting.
Your favorite piece.
But so I mean, the obviously the main Batman theme, the da da da, that's like in my head the whole time. But I really love the themes that he brought in for like Bruce Wayne, and how he's sort of gonna become a bigger part of Gotham City. How he's, not using fear and rage, but instead he's instilling hope, and that sort of theme, and how it develops throughout the film. I think like all the best Batman scores have a duality in their themes, with the big triumphant Batman score, the badass sort of loud Batman score, like Hans Zimmer did it with The Dark Knight. But then there's also the balance with bringing in the sort of humanity of Bruce Wayne as a character. So that duality, whenever a composer can nail that, for me it's like bliss. For sure.
Selena Kyle's
score is beautiful as well. Selena Kyle, and then and how different it is from Batman's, and then there's the Riddler score as well, which is so chilling.
It's like a demented mix up of the Ave Maria song that he sings throughout the film, which is genius.
Yeah. Incredible. But that was personally, guys, that was my biggest snub of the year.
You know who, this is not even a pun, you know who we actually do need to get on this podcast as well, and the greatest composer of all time is Fingal Dickens. Fingal Dickens is my composer and my best friend in life, and he does the music for all of our films, and he loves films, so we need to get that guy on this. Fingal, I'm looking at you right now.
Fingal,
we need to get get
I'll bring my composer on, Gio. Giovanni Bariana.
We'll have like a composer battle.
We can have like DJ off.
That would actually be a really good episode.
Like in Yesterday, where Ed Sheeran tells him to like go off and write a song, and then they come back in 5 minutes.
That's what I'm gonna do on the episode. Awesome. Anyone else want to say anything about the scores this year? I think Babylon is probably gonna take it. The Fabelmans, John Williams. I mean, I haven't seen the film, but I mean, it's John Williams.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can never count this guy out. But
it's like Roger Deakins at this point. It's just out of respect.
Exactly.
How legendary.
What won at the Golden Globes?
Babylon, I think.
Good.
Okay. Well deserved.
So we have film editing next.
Did Babylon get snubbed for this too?
It did get snubbed.
Oh my god.
So we have The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Tar, and Top Gun Maverick.
There's only two. Right, guys, there's only two, which is Everything Everywhere or Top Gun.
Oh, Top Gun. Yeah.
Tar is well edited.
It is well edited. For a film that's that long, the pacing is terrific.
Why is Banshees getting so much love?
Especially for these technical
editing? Yeah, I'm not too sure. It's interesting.
It's a good point. Yeah,
it's getting a lot of love.
Watch, it's gonna win now. Watch.
I think we got to give credit to. I actually think there's two snubs, and like there is this trend, and we can like not go into it too deep into it, but obviously films are getting longer.
Yeah.
And this year we had 2 massive releases that are 3 hours each.
Yes.
Release not here in the UK because Babylon just released as of us recording this, but in the States, Babylon released like 2 weeks after Avatar premiered.
Yeah.
And they're both over 3 hours. So it takes so much effort to edit a 3 hour long film well. And both of those do not feel 3 hours long.
No,
they feel long.
Yes.
That's my only criticism that I would say to both of them, but that's because any film above like 2 hours 40 feels long. So to have that editing, keep you engaged, really engaged for 3 hours 15 minutes is like really noteworthy.
The question I ask is, do you think 3-hour films should be edited down even further?
No, I love long
I
films.
like it as well
if
it makes sense. Like Babylon, Avatar, loved it. Yeah. But like Bardo, loved it in the cinema. On Netflix, I would not have loved it that much.
I just really like long films. I love the Snyder Cut. I love, I love it all. The longer the better, in my opinion. Well, I'll just say one real quick thing about this. Elvis is up there, right? Yeah. So Elvis has been nominated, and I think the Academy tends to nominate films that have a lot of editing as opposed to good editing. Elvis is a very well edited film, in my opinion, especially for the length that it is and for the amount of scenes that it has. What I will say is, in my opinion, if we're going to actually put money on this, it's going in between Top Gun or Everything Everywhere. Yeah. For very different reasons. A Top Gun win would be like Ford v Ferrari winning a few years ago. As in, the edit, I think it was edited by Eddie Hamilton, who does the Mission Impossible films as well. Incredible guy. And I think he did Kingsman as well. The amount of footage that poor guy must have had to sit through of people just taking off and landing on planes. He deserves it for that alone. Yeah. But with Everything Everywhere All at Once, the reason I believe it actually deserves it is because it uses editing not only to convey emotion as it should or tell the story, but actually inform the audience as to what is actually going on. Yeah. It is such... I would argue that of all the different technical departments of that film, editing is without question the most important for that film because of the multiverse aspect.
I rewatched it recently. Everything Everywhere is like top tier editing. It's the best of the year by far. But like to bring it back to Elvis, I just checked 2 hours 39 feels longer than both Avatar and Babylon to me. It does. And it's edited because you go through like such a journey of down a lot, like and Avatar and Babylon on the other hand, they keep you so like engaged the whole time, and there's low and their low has been earned, and there's a high when you need to go on a high. And Elvis, the editing specifically is it's a bit all over the place. So it feels
to
very
make
long.
you feel a bit better though, Mickey. Tom Cross for Babylon, he's snubbed. Sangren cinematography snub. It's fine because they already won for Whiplash and La La Land. So
that's true. And Whiplash was such a surprise that year. Like whenever it got nominated, such a surprise.
Okay, so moving on to writing original screenplay, we have The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness. So Theo, do you want to kick this one off?
The Triangle of Sadness.
Yeah.
Finally, some Triangle of Sadness. getting the love. I was just in general happy that Triangle of Sadness got 3 nominations, 3 big ones. Screenplay, Best Director, and Best Picture. Because that was my favourite cinema experience this year. Tar was also, I thought, a genius screenplay in the sense that everything that Cate Blanchett does with the lines and the dialogue is able to instill the subtext of her sociopathic tendencies throughout the whole film. I just thought it was a masterful way of conveying an anti-hero without basically having them to murder anyone, and just doing it in a much more subtle way. Other than that, I haven't seen The Fabelmans. I thought Everything Everywhere All at Once was obviously fantastic in the sense that it was so broad in the journey that it takes, but it brings it down to a family relationship, which is what I love with any of these wide films, is bringing it down to a nice core theme that we can all sort of understand and relate to. Banshees, again, it's getting so much love. I wasn't a huge fan, but I think it's a very popular film. I think it's one of the most popular films on Letterboxd this year. Which just
I think it's the highest rated this year. Right?
No way.
Really?
Is that
on Letterboxd?
Everything Everywhere.
Everything Everywhere. Yeah.
Oh no, you're talking about Banshees.
No, Everything Everywhere. Sorry.
I think Banshees will win this. If we, by the way, we should totally bet on this. By the way, we should totally, because the year that Deakins won, I got them all right.
Nice.
I got them all right. Nice. But anyway, I should have bet that year.
All your bets.
No, I didn't bet, but as in I got all my predictions.
All your predictions, right?
All of them.
Yes, all of them.
That's
not like the
Can you tell he's a film
feature?
I usually get like at least 1/3 wrong.
All right.
No,
but I think that
last year I was about to place a £50 bet on all of the categories.
But you would have bet on Power of the Dog to win, not Coda. Nobody was going to bet.
No, I know. I had Coda, and the only thing I missed was Encanto the song.
Wait, you had Coda as Best Picture win?
Yeah, I
Who predicted that? Why would you predict that?
because I'd been looking at the stats. You have to go and look at the
Oh my
stats. Yeah,
God.
yeah.
I probably would have predicted Coda like last out of
Yeah.
those nominees.
But no, I think Banshees will win because it's been nominated in so many other categories. It won't win Best Director. It won't win Best Picture. It won't win Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson. They're gonna give it this one
So
because it's such a wordy film. If we're
Yeah.
gonna put money on this, Banshees win.
it is a wordy film for sure.
I think it's an incredibly strong category.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
all 5 of these films are written masterfully.
Yeah.
Like there is not one that I'm like, it doesn't really deserve to be on there. They're all like in their own specific ways. I wouldn't be upset if any one of these 5 won.
Yeah.
To be honest, genuinely, like it's a really strong category.
maybe the strongest category of
Yeah.
them, maybe. So it's only right to follow it up with adapted screenplay. So the nominations are All Quiet on the Western Front, Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery, Living, some love for Living, Top Gun Maverick, and Women Talking.
What's
Living.
Glass Onion adapted of?
Sorry?
What's Glass
That's
Onion?
I was gonna
an
watch that as
adaptation
well.
of?
Knives Out. So I think because they
If
use
it's a
Benoit
sequel,
Blanc. Because they use
right?
Benoit Blanc.
Oh
They use
my
the same.
God.
It's not an entirely original creation. They're
Living,
using a
Living
character.
needs to win. Living should win.
This is
Living.
quite a weak category.
It is a weak category.
Glass Onion
Yeah.
is
It's not as smart as it thinks.
I think I have a
Okay.
feeling they're gonna give it to Women Talking. I don't know
Yeah.
if anyone's seen it.
I've not seen.
I will.
I want
will
to
then.
watch it,
I
but
will.
where can I find this
It's
bloody
coming
film?
out in like
So
2-3 weeks. And
film-
then
Right.
Yeah. Really solid screenplay. I was actually expecting Women Talking to get nominated a lot more
Right.
after I saw it, particularly in the performance categories, which we'll get to. But yeah, my pick, I think Women Talking
Okay.
might take this one. But yeah.
Did The Whale get a snub in this?
No, yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It did. It did.
Yeah, I did.
No nomination for the.
I would argue that I love The Whale.
Yeah.
I'm saying that before I say. But if there is any weaker bit of The Whale, it's specifically the dialogue writing.
Yeah.
Mm.
Not the structure of the film, but the dialogue writing.
The Will is the
I
last
think
big one
it's
I've
like
yet to see.
one polish away from being incredible.
Right.
Yeah.
But not to say I don't like it, but it's just
It did fall half a star for me on my second watch for it, I will say. I really love it still.
Yeah, I love it too.
But yeah. Anyways, moving on, we have documentary feature and documentary short.
I ain't seen it.
Has anyone seen any of the documentary films?
Nope.
No. Thing?
Fire of Love, I have not, but I will.
Okay. Well, I think we should potentially skip this one. I did
Yeah.
want to mention it because I think, I mean, personally, I do actually, it's a goal for me this year. I do want to actually watch a lot more documentary films for sure because I think there's some really good ones out there. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think any of us here are educated enough in this
think
category.
Low IQ.
What's interesting about documentaries as a film form is that there's a lot of entertaining documentaries that sort of are by the book and give you good information quickly.
Yeah.
But a lot of the ones, for example, Letterboxd has its sort of top 100 documentaries, and I've only seen about 6 because it's the more artful form
Right,
of
yeah.
documentary that is I guess less accessible in the mainstream sphere. But equally, like there's a lot of great content out there.
The only one that I've seen recently for Oscars that comes to mind was Free Solo,
Mm.
and I watched it. I just want to see if he died or not, But it was a good one, and I'm
Yeah.
glad that it won.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to short films, similar to documentary here. I'm not sure how many of you guys have seen any of the short
Nope.
films here. So we have short film live action, and we have short films animated. Anyone seen anything?
I usually watch the shorts after.
I see.
I do watch them, but a lot of them are like, because they're festival circuity and like,
Yeah.
you can't really find them as easy as you
Yeah.
can a feature.
I-
So I do watch them though
I
usually.
watched the animated. What was it? The mole. What's it?
The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse.
Yeah, absolutely garbage.
Really?
Really?
It was a Christmassy type thing, and I know there will be a lot of people annoyed about that because it's a sort of a family animated short, but it was so sort of on the nose with all the themes that it was trying to sort of persist with, and I didn't like it.
Interesting. I do actually want to say this was probably the funniest category to read out because I reacted live. I watched the nominations live, and just very quickly, I do want to read out the nominations for short film animated. So we have like you said, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse, The Flying Sailor, Ice Merchants, My Year of Dicks, and An Ostrich Told Me the World is Fake and I Think I Believe It. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. So moving on, we are going to We're gonna go to, let me see, animated feature film. I mean,
Pinocchio.
Yes, that's about literally what I had to say. I was going to read out the nominations, but I mean, Pinocchio. Let's read out the nominations. So, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, The Sea Beast, and Turning Red. I've only seen one of these films,
which was
Pinocchio.
Puss in Boots is good.
I'm going to see
Marcel
it. Like
the Shell is good too. Have you guys seen it?
Which one?
Marcel the Shell.
No.
No?
No.
Solid. It's cute. Really cute. Wholesome.
Yeah.
Really nice. Really unique.
But would you say that's generally quite a weak category this year?
I think so. I don't think there's much competition. I think Del Toro is going to take it for
There's
sure.
usually always only like one or two good ones.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Verse was, remember? Or Coco was,
Yeah.
So there's only a few good ones.
Yeah. So next up we have international feature film. So we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Argentina 1985, Close, EO, and The Quiet Girl.
And Decision to Leave, which was not there.
Which was a big snub, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Mickey, can you tell us why you didn't?
Yeah.
It's not that I didn't like it. It's not my cup of tea.
Right.
Like Decision to Leave is just not like, I don't relate to that medium of storytelling as much as other people do. I found it just like not. I found it just not my experience.
Well, I'll tell you this: I didn't get it.
I didn't get it either.
To this day, I still have no idea what happened.
I think as a film, from a filmmaking perspective, like technically, that's a film that actually got snubbed on a lot of categories. Editing, sound, like stuff like that. But it's just not my cup of tea for the story. I wanted to love it, and I went into it wanting to love it, but I don't love stories anyway. Overall in film, I like them as a side story. I don't love them being like the key of the story.
Hey, you and I can have a long conversation. We can do a whole podcast on this because I believe I've always said this, and I've gotten shit for this. I said if you watch films just for the story, go read a book.
We
We can debate.
Film is a visual.
Film is the one medium that combines
all mediums.
All mediums.
Yes,
I agree.
that's correct.
Every single medium.
Yeah,
but the
Sound,
story is king.
Music.
But the story is key. 100%.
Fashion,
Stories.
architecture,
Exactly,
photography,
everything.
performance.
Everything.
But the story is key.
The story is key. But the balance is the most important thing, guys.
That's why, like for me, the film that I know I've hinted that all of you guys love that I didn't love as much was 1917 because the story of 1917 was structured around its technical aspects.
Right.
That film feels more like a D&D game because it is like you go from location to location, changing characters, changing things. The story was crafted after I can bet that was idea of the shot first and then the story. Not bad, but it just isn't like as in my opinion, as impactful as a story.
One could almost say it's a video game. I made
Is there a video?
I watched that.
For this, I have Argentina 1985. Yeah, that's the one I've send a lot of love that way.
I'm gonna
we
still
were
watch
gonna
it.
see it, and we decided not to.
We did, yeah.
At BFI.
He speaks very highly of it.
It was either between that or Palm Trees and Power Lines, and we saw great film, by the way.
Yeah.
That was my second favorite cinema experience this year.
Wow.
The whole audience was silent, and you could hear a few people crying because it is quite emotional towards the end, but in a good way.
So we're saying Decision to Leave. It was snubbed.
Yeah. Well, Bardo was technically snubbed as well because it's Mexican.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen it, but
yeah, RRR should have been nominated. I've seen it, and Theo thought that I was gonna love RRR. Or how do you say it? RRR.
Yeah.
Oh, I say RRR. But it was really good. But why are pirates, guys? Because they are. But no, it's a really good film and really well made.
Yeah.
The visual effects were dog shit, but everything else about it was incredible, and just for how alive it feels as a film. And Theo thought I would love that, because there are loads of reflection shots. And everything.
PANWA likes movies.
Yeah.
And it's
like a
movie.
You sound like Harry Styles.
You sound like Harry Styles. Oh, shut up.
But he gets what, like, I get what you mean. Like, I like movies that actually feel like movies where the camera spins around as they kiss and there's explosions and stuff in slow motion. And that's RRR.
Yeah.
So, yeah, should have been nominated.
No love for RRR. So, moving on now, I think we're moving on to let's go on the big ones. So first up we have directing. So
yes.
the nominations for directing The Banshees of Inisherin for Martin McDonagh, or I should say Martin McDonagh for the Banshees of Inisherin. Daniel Korn and Daniel Scheinert for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans. Todd Field for Tar, and Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness.
Spielberg will win this, in my opinion. He's won all the other awards.
I actually think the Daniels might win this.
I hope they do.
I think they might.
I hope.
I can already see the speech going viral if they win. Yeah, it's the two of them as well. It's quite a unique situation for two two directors to be up there for that.
Do you know what was snubbed? Babylon.
Damien.
Babylon was snubbed. It was.
No, I don't. I'm not sure. I think this is one of the toughest categories.
Yeah.
And all of those nominees are deserving. I don't know if Damien managed. Well, we can get into the Babylon.
I would like to see Martin McDonagh, who did a film about two guys talking in a bunch of pubs and fields, try and direct a party scene like Babylon. Okay, Damien Chazelle could direct respectfully, because I do love Martin McDonagh. Damien Chazelle could direct Banshees in his sleep. It would take him one day to film that movie. All right.
You know what's really weird? I have this small inkling that Martin McDonagh could win this category. I don't know why.
I agree.
I don't know why.
He's been getting a lot of rave about the direction.
The film is brilliant. I'm not. Don't get me wrong, but I think that Martin McDonagh has always been more of a script director, a director of actors, but he's not one to kind of make
not the
movies.
Yeah,
you know, he's very.
That was a very good Harry stuff.
Yeah. But he's not like a director.
Yeah.
And I think that the Oscars typically they like to award directors.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a massive snub, but I did want to shout out After Sun. I thought it was very well directed.
That is good. Shout out for sure.
That won Best British Debut Director, right?
Oh, deservedly
at the BAFTAs.
So, yeah.
It won like best debut feature at the BAFTAs.
Well, have the BAFTAs already been and gone?
I think so, right?
No, they've not been nominated. I don't think they've been done yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, actor in a supporting role, we have Brendan Gleeson for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway, Judd Hirsch for The Fabelmans, Barry Keoghan for The Banshees of Inisherin, and Ke Huy Quan for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
This is the easiest category to predict now.
I think
he will win.
He has to, man. And I just
shout out to Brendan Gleeson though. He's brilliant.
Yeah, he is. But here's the thing. I actually think Barry Keoghan, out of all these nominees, he might have impressed me the most out of anyone here. I think he found a really beautiful balance between sort of this sort of childlike intuition with his character and being straight up hilarious. He completely I feel like it's a character that could have gone really easily wrong with another actor, but I think he is such a talented force working in the industry today. I think I'm super excited to see what he does with Joker, but yeah, I think he's definitely one of the best up and coming actors working today. And yeah, I think if Ke Huy Quan wasn't in this category, maybe that he'd have a good shot of taking it.
Probably Brendan Gleeson.
I think
or Brendan Gleeson as well.
Of that film, but I'm quite happy. I haven't seen, probably I won't, to be honest, but I haven't seen Causeway, but I'm very happy Brian Tyree Henry.
He was really good.
I love him because Atlanta is a masterpiece.
I liked him in
Atlanta
Bullet Train.
is a masterpiece.
I liked him in Bullet Train.
And Lemon.
I think he's great, and I think he should like have a long, fruitful career.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, what we spoke about in the beginning, like with the Oscars, like the Oscars, the one thing they do 100%, you're nominated, boom, your career explodes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Explodes.
Yeah.
You can see it with everybody. So I'm really happy for him to have this in his like belt.
I think he's probably got this one.
He's got it in the bag.
Yeah.
And that speech is going to be
beautiful.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful, man. I'm so happy, man. I remember when I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once for the first time. I was like, who is this guy? I really, really recognize him. Went home afterwards, looked at the cast. I was like, no way it's Short Round from Indiana Jones.
Like, without Temple of Doom is my favorite Indiana Jones film.
This is the one. Temple of Doom also for me. I don't think it's the best Indiana Jones film, but for me, it's the one I watched the most.
Yeah.
I just know it.
Like ever since I was a kid, I always saw that bit where Short Round drives the car, but he has a brick attached to his foot so that he can actually hit the pedal. I wanted to do that when I was a kid. So I've been a fan of Temple of Doom since I was, I grew up watching that film. So I want him to win.
Yeah. And yeah, I can't wait to see. I say this like he's 100% getting it, but I think
One of my favorite lines as well is I would have loved just doing laundry and taxes
with you. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Beautiful. Also, really quickly, there's 2 Eternals in that.
Yeah, there are.
There is,
Yes.
2 Eternals there.
Yeah.
Oh man. So next up we have actress in a supporting role, and the nominations are Angela Bassett for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Hong Chow for The Whale, Kerry Condon for The Banshees of Inisherin, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Stephanie Su for Everything
That's
Everywhere
such a good
All at
cast
Once.
agreement.
Yeah,
That's so.
it
well
really
done.
is.
Angela will win.
Yeah.
There is one snub, which is Dolly De Leon, who was in
Yes,
Triangle of
the
Sadness.
Triangle of Sadness.
Yeah.
I mean, most like acting wise, I think all of Triangle of Sadness's stars were snubbed.
Yeah.
To be honest, they're incredible. Like, what's the leading
Harris Dickinson.
leading guy's name?
Harris Dickinson.
He's like incredible.
he really is.
It's the nuance of that performance is insane, and there's a lot of
the dinner scene in particular,
Yeah.
and the elevator scene right after.
Well,
Incredible.
the elevator scene is, but the dinner scene is spectacular.
I told Theo I knew I was going to love the movie when the elevator shuts and we thought it was going to be over. Then he yanked it open again.
But I completely forgot, by the way, director snub. A huge director snub is Ruben for.
No, he got nominated.
Oh, did he? Oh,
Yeah.
he should win. That's like the nuances of those scenes. If you just read them, they could be really boring.
Yeah.
Not really boring, but they could be really plain.
Well,
Yeah.
But all of the spices and things he adds to them is just so beautiful.
When you one thing to see with the director and their love for their film is, when Variety, I think it's Variety, do directors.
Oh,
notes.
Roundtable.
Yeah.
No, they do the
Directors
notes.
on directors.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And they draw onto the screen.
Oh, the breakdown.
I watched
the
that.
breakdown.
That was so
and
incredible.
his breakdown of the initial opening scene was so detailed,
Yeah.
and he said he took so many takes, and then they do a countdown, and they have this big dong that he hits,
Yeah.
and the way that he put Harris Dickinson's character in the corner, had the wall, and the darkness behind him to make him feel isolated, and the music in the background. He took so much attention to detail, and he's done that with all of his films. He's very, very particular. And he acts as an antithesis to what Taika Waititi did when he was doing Thor: Love and Thunder's notes, and he was talking dissing the VFX and stuff like that, and sort of taking less care, which obviously shows
I think
in the
definitely
film.
Harris Dickinson is like a breakthrough for me. I'd love to see I'd love to see more things. And Charby Dean was incredible in as well.
Yeah,
rest in peace.
for sure. Anyways, so next up we have actress in a leading role. And the nominees are Kate Blanchett. By the way, I feel like I'm an Oscar host or something when I'm reading these out. Kate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde, Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie, Michelle Williams for The Fabelmans, and Michelle Yeoh, 2 Michelles. Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now, on the count of 3, we're all going to say who we think is going to take home the Oscar.
Out of the nominations.
Out of the nominations.
Well, it's between Michelle and Kate, but we'll say who.
Okay, on the count of 3, we're going to say, all right, 3, 2, 1.
Michelle Yeoh.
Kate Blanchett.
Okay, so we got 1 Michelle and we got 3 Kates.
Yeah.
PANWA, since you are the only one who's
Flyer.
Michelle.
Now, of
Why don't
course,
you-
whoever wins the Screen Actors Guild Award is most likely to win the Oscar, and of course, Kate Blanchett got it.
Yeah.
The reason I think they'll give it to Michelle Yeoh, there's a few reasons. I think the first reason, and I can say this because I'm Asian, I think it's because of the race card, because they want diversity amongst the actors. And now, I actually think that Michelle is just as good as Kate Blanchett in the film, and I would be very happy for her to win. And that is not the only reason. The other reason is, of course, because I think if... Okay, hang on. Because I'm just thinking now, if Everything Everywhere wins Best Picture or Best Director, they can then be like, okay, actually, we'll give this to Kate Blanchett because Tar ain't winning anything else.
Yeah.
This is Tar's only chance to win an Oscar, and I think that could be the reason that they give it to Kate. And Kate Blanchett is like one of my favorite actors of all time. Would love for her to win, but I think that with the story of how the last year has gone, with the journey that Everything Everywhere has been on, which is this unbelievable journey that is blown up, and everyone loves the film and everyone loves her performance. The heart of the film is Michelle Yeoh. The soul of the film is really Michelle Yeoh, and she's the thing that keeps everything moving, And I think the performance is so varied, it is so layered, it is so dynamic. And I'm not saying it's better or worse than Blanchett's, because I think they're equally good. But I think that the Academy will give it to Michelle because because of the story.
Yeah.
You know, because of the it's everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
Also, Denzel and Casey Affleck in 2017.
Yeah.
Everyone thought Denzel was going to win. Affleck gets it. Olivia Colman and Glenn Close in the year after that.
Yeah.
Everyone thought Glenn Close was going to win because she won all of them, and then Olivia Colman
But
wins.
I think it's quite like 50-50.
It is very.
I think
This one is very.
a lot of
50-50.
people.
And when it was Chadwick and Anthony Hopkins.
And then
And
Yeah,
when they
yeah, yeah.
saved that award for last.
Yeah.
They did
yeah,
Best
yeah,
Picture
yeah.
before, which was, I know a lot of people weren't happy about that, but yeah.
Michelle for the win.
And then what about who was in competition with Frances McDormand in No Man Land year?
It was nobody.
Nobody. Yeah.
And also, Kate Blanchett already has an Oscar.
She has two.
Yes, for one for Aviator,
Yeah.
right, and then one for
Blue,
she
Blue
won-
Jasmine?
for Blue Jasmine.
Yeah.
But fun fact,
Wow.
Katharine Hepburn has won the most amount of. She has 4 Oscars. Katharine Hepburn has 4. Nobody else has 4.
Yeah.
Kate Blanchett won an Oscar for playing Katharine Hepburn. And she has 2.
I think the biggest snub of the entire Academies is Margot Robbie in Babylon. I think Margot Robbie in Babylon is a powerhouse,
Yeah.
going through every nuance of every emotion. She is the driving force of that film.
Yeah.
That film it's 3 hours long.
Yeah.
It could have flopped. It didn't, because she is an energetic bomb.
Yeah, I agree.
She's incredible in it. I wouldn't expect her to win,
Yeah.
but a nomination. I think in a different world where the American reception wasn't as bad for Babylon, she was a lock. A
Yeah.
lock. 100%.
I also really wanted
Mickey-
Diego Calva to win, to get nominated.
Oh yeah, him as well. Yeah.
That's I had Diego down as well. I thought I thought he was fantastic.
Mm.
But would you say with Margot, I think there's a performance that is in someone's wheelhouse, and we've already seen it. So, for example, Tom Hanks, when he did the film about the Western film,
News of the World.
yes, that was very much in his wheelhouse to do this sort of stoic character. Margot Robbie doing this sort of manic pixie dream girl type character.
Harley Quinn
Harley
type
Quinn,
vibe. I
I,
think
Tonya, it is in her wheelhouse. We've seen her go crazy. We've seen Wolf of Wall Street. We've seen that sort of big.
Can I ask you lads something?
Mm.
You know Emma Stone was originally meant to be that character.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it wasn't. It was rewritten.
It was rewritten.
Yeah, yeah.
And I also think that Jean Smart at one point would have been Meryl Streep, and Jovan Adepo at one point would have been Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
I'm not certain, but I think that's how it was.
Yeah.
What do you think would have been different if Emma Stone had played the role, just out of curiosity?
So I mean, I'll just take it to answer that question as well, because for Emma Stone it was written different. I think when Margot Robbie jumped on, they rewrote it to be kind of more like Clarabelle inspired. But for so I think it would have been a lot less eccentric. I get what you're saying, and I do agree. Here, I think there is a lot of odd, like serenity to Nelly in Babylon, and I think. I am not used to, but I have experienced Margot Robbie in that before. But it's like, to me, that performance really reminds me of Leo in Wolf of Wall Street, where it's like, I've had this conversation years ago, and I was asked, like, what's the most, like, engine-like performance in a film? And I was like, Leo comes to mind immediately, because he's just, like, the driving force of the
always switched on.
like, everything, like, always, and she feels like that to me. Like, I loved Babylon from beginning to end, but every time she wasn't on screen, I found myself wanting, like, I want to see Nelly. I want to see, like, this crazy, like, psycho character.
Interesting.
I also think the some of the best moments of Babylon, the moments of brilliance, is Margot Robbie, because she is playing someone who wants to make it, someone who's a star, and the scenes where she is acting, where she's essentially playing an actress, the level of depth and complexity you have to bring to a character like that, similar with Emma Stone, as she's like doing the audition in La La Land. You have to almost sort of navigate it two ways. And for an actress to be able to do that, I think is truly something special. And I do 100% agree with you. I think she was massively snubbed here. I will say though, I think Michelle Yeoh is absolutely incredible. She made me cry in Everything Everywhere All at Once. However, I think that out of all the actresses, looking at all the actresses here, I haven't seen The Fabelmans and I haven't seen To Leslie, but if you take Cate Blanchett out of Tar, there is no Tar.
It's the name of the character.
It is the name of character. This film, one of the biggest strengths of this film is that it convinced me that Lydia Tarr was a real person.
Right.
And
I agree.
I googled it like 40 minutes in. I thought it
was real.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is, whenever a film or an actress can, do that,
Testament.
I think it's exactly
It's testament to the depth of where they go with that character.
for sure, 100%.
Like I'll second this as well. Is the greatest compliment I can give to Cate Blanchett's performance, and she is arguably my favorite actress of all time, is that if I could meet one character in real life, and of this year I could have met Batman, and I still think I would have talked to Lydia Tarr instead. You know, I think the three greatest gifts that an actor could have is when, like, Margot Robbie playing an actor, or playing a figure that is so great that they feel like a real person. And then the third one is playing two characters in the same movie. All right, but we didn't have any of it.
Personally, I'd like to meet Jake Sully.
I'd like to meet Neteyam.
I'd like to meet Zoe Saldana. And see if I would betray the human race.
Okay, moving on. We have actor in a leading role. So we have Austin Butler in Elvis, Colin Farrell in The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser in The Whale, Paul Mescal in After Sun, and Bill Nye in Living.
How happy am I for Bill Nye?
I think this is a really good category. Yeah,
so strong.
Really, really good. And I'm really happy that Paul Mescal made it into this.
Same.
Really happy about
I
that.
wish his daughter, the girl plays his daughter.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what her name is, but she was even better than him.
She was
in the
great
film.
in it.
She was
she
so
was really
good.
She was.
The only person I would say, for me, someone put Tom Cruise in some of these prediction videos, but he's not there for me.
No.
But Diego Calva, I did think.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree.
If I was going to do any trades, I would probably put take out Colin Farrell and put in Diego.
Wow. Because he wasn't the biggest fan of Banshees, but I
Yeah.
think the rest of us liked it a bit more than he did.
Yeah.
Diego Calva was so
But also
good.
another thing to note, which is really fun and goes back to the sort of romantic side of the Oscars. These are all first-time Oscar nominations.
Are they?
Yeah, so none of these
Colin
actors
Farrell's never been nominated.
never
for an
been
Oscar.
nominated.
My
Holy
God.
So that's exciting that someone will be,
Yeah.
getting to
Getting
take-
Oscar for the first
But it
time.
will go to Brendan Fraser.
See, I think it's either Austin Butler or Brendan
I
Fraser.
agree. I have no idea. 50.
I want it to go to Brendan Fraser. 'Cause
I
I'm
agree.
such a Brendan Fraser fan. I grew up watching his films and his
I
performance.
bet you even Austin Butler wants it to go to Brendan
You know,
Fraser.
I wanted to go to Brendan as well,
Yeah.
just because like what kind of a person he is. But I did rewatch a couple of scenes from Elvis the other day. Like, he is incredible as
Yeah.
Elvis. Like, if Austin Butler gets it, I'd be like, oh, it's too bad Brendan didn't get it. But I'm still like happy for the dude because he really embodies that character.
Might I say something that upsets me very deeply?
Please do.
Rami Malek won for playing Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody. Austin Butler is being nominated and might possibly win for playing Elvis Presley. Taron Egerton got nothing. What the hell? I thought he was the best out of the three.
I think the film is the best out of the three.
Yeah.
But I think Austin Butler is the best out of the three in their performance.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I just think Rocket Man for me is far and away a superior film to these guys. I'm in the minority, and I know not everyone feels that way, but I just thought that film deserves so much more love.
People
I need to
hate
rewatch
Rocket
it.
Man. A lot of people hate it.
For a year that Joaquin Phoenix won for Joker and Adam Driver did the Marriage Story,
Yeah.
I wanted Taron to win, and I'm in the minority, I know, but that's my opinion.
I think I remember you reacting or like,
Something it might have been. Yeah.
Okay, so guys, we've made it onto the final category, the big one, and that is, of course, Best Picture or Best Film of the Year. So the nominations or the nominees are All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking.
Okay. Before we get into this, can I just now dedicate maybe 2 minutes of this lovely podcast to speak about mine and Mickey's biggest snub, which is Babylon.
Well, but we haven't talked about it yet, though.
We haven't. But no, I just wanted to quickly talk about it because I think me and Mickey feel very much the same, and we can discuss this now. Dylan made a very wonderful prediction about Babylon, saying when the three of us went to watch it together, that I'd enjoy it most, followed by you, and that was true.
Yeah.
I think that Babylon is one of the most epic and cinematic experiences I've seen. I think as a filmmaker, I want to have made that movie. I would want to have been on set every day for all the challenges and all the trials and tribulations that they must have gone through to make that film. It is a film that feels beautiful and disgusting at the same time it feels like a nightmare that you do not want to wake up from, in the sense that La La Land was a beautiful dream of what Los Angeles and the film industry is. Babylon is a beautiful nightmare, and I did not want to wake up from that film. I did not want it to end. I thought the acting was fantastic. Every single technical aspect of that film was brilliant. As a filmmaker, I think we all four of us can relate to things in that film that most people might not be able to, like the sound scene, like the scene where Diego Calva has to drive, miles and miles and miles to get a camera, and it doesn't rock up, and when it does, he just snatches it and runs off. And like when Brad Pitt is kissing the person at sunset, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, we got the take." Yeah. It's magic like that I'm so glad the film has been able to show a wider audience who might not understand the intensity, but also the wonder of filmmaking. And I related to that on every level. The ending, which I would love to ask Mickey about, I really enjoyed it.
I like it besides the Avatar shot.
This is what.
Besides that one shot.
You know what I said?
I love that sequence.
You know what I said to Theo? I said it would have been so much worse if he put Whiplash and La La Land in there as well.
I did like it. To be honest, I didn't love it though. I think it did come out of like, I was like,
yeah,
this is
one of the other things we forget. Yeah. Obviously, I rewatched it and I was looking at the films they chose. He also put T2 in it.
Yeah.
Put Jurassic Park, yeah.
And he put 2 Cameron films, which is
I think maybe because we saw Avatar recently.
Yeah.
So it really, that was like the one where I was like, this is so weird. Like I was just in like 1920s.
That's interesting you say this, because the film was supposed to come out the year before, right? Babylon.
Yes and no. I think it was delayed because of Emma Stone and the COVID, and then
Interesting. So I don't know. Maybe,
I don't know.
Yeah.
My thing about
but the editing would have happened.
Yeah,
so I think they would have selected that in the editing.
That's true.
My thing about Babylon is that it is a cinematic experience but I can definitely see myself rewatching this at home. No problem. I can see myself enjoying this at home. No problem. I agree with everything you said. It's a beautiful. The more I think about it, the more I enjoy it and I love it.
I thought the ending was the boldest choice that I've seen a director make in the past 10 years of just completely breaking the rules of logic and just to have this sort of cinematic idea that he's trying to pitch.
You said it best, mate. You said you felt like you got jizzed on by cinema, which is so true, because there's like all of these colors and all of these
all the liquid.
Welcome to the Popcorn Podcast, everybody.
There are kids listening again.
Yeah. The thing with Babylon and why I like it less than you guys potentially is because of these amazing set pieces, right? Throughout the film, you've got the opening, then you got the film when they're both in these different things. I found there was never the emotional heart of something like Boogie Nights that ends with a family, and it's sort of at its core. This ends in a sort of cokey, because Margot's on coke the whole time. I never really bought the connection between Diego Calva's character and Margot Robbie's character because of that sort of intensity that she brought. I always just had that little bit of irritation of just like, come on, rein it in a bit.
Can I ask, do you wish the film was a bit slower and would kind of stop?
I wish that there were certain bits which would just push me out of the enjoyment of the film, where I'd be really enjoying it and then she'd eat all the food and cover herself and I'd just be like, I don't buy that. Or she'd come to ask for him for help about the gambling addiction, and then he comes back and she's got back on the coke, and she's like, he's driving and she's covering his eyes, and he pulls over the car and tries to fill up with petrol, and she runs off. Those bits were just irritating to me as a character. I was just like,
that's interesting,
being drawn away. But I thought the arsehole of LA tunnel sequence was phenomenal. So there were just elements where they just dialed it up just to 10 when it could have been dialed to 8, and would have brought it down a notch for maybe people to appreciate.
In contrast, I'm very curious what you think about the whole Nelly thing, because I think that the draw of the character and the appeal of the character is that she is impossible, and that the romance between her and Manny was kind of cursed from the very beginning. And they were, I always have a thing for films, romance films, in my opinion, the best ones, aside from When Harry Met Sally, because that's the GOAT. But every other good romance film, it's never clear if they end up together at the end. The Before trilogy, not clear.
Mm.
La La Land, they don't. Midnight in Paris, no, they don't. So this one, they don't.
I think
You know? It's more interesting.
that's a good point. I think they lacked a little bit of chemistry, to be honest, up until he got successful as a character.
Yes.
Because then they had more scenes together.
Yeah.
And then I just bought it more. Because before that scene when like he meets her again, they had 2 scenes together.
Yeah.
So I just didn't, it was such a vital part of the film, but I just didn't buy it as much as I maybe should have because they just didn't share that much screen time. One thing I do want to say about Babylon is every person I've spoken to in person in the UK or Bulgaria has said they love it. And overall, like theaters are full here. European audiences love it.
Yeah.
So the reason that I'm like pushing for Babylon as much as I am is because I think it's ridiculous to like look at that film and go objectively that's like a 50% Rotten Tomatoes film.
Yeah.
That is not.
It's
that's
not.
just not the case. The issue is that American audiences found it too vulgar, especially like the opening, which I also don't think it is.
It's not vulgar.
Because
it's not too much at all.
European audiences are a bit more used to that sort of thing, but it's because it's the same thing as The Northman, which, by the way, I haven't spoken to enough, but I think The Northman is snubbed in like everything.
It is, yeah.
But The Northman flopped because audiences found it was marketed to be something different.
It was
than is.
mismarketed.
It was marketed to be like the next Gladiator.
That was
Yeah.
literally a quote from the marketing campaign, The Next Gladiator. And it was not. It was so much weirder than anybody thought, myself included. It's like proper Robert Eggers.
Yeah.
And Babylon is as well, it's not what people expected in the States probably. So that's why it flopped there, because they just didn't know what they were getting themselves into. But that's why people love it here, because they're like, put that film on in France. In France, that's probably the most like bleak film that came out that year. You know what I mean?
Quick question, it may be too soon to do this in terms of it's just come out, but if you were going to rank Whiplash, La La Land and Babylon, how would that...
in that order.
I think
In that order, exactly.
Okay, so you would still
From a personal point of view, Whiplash 1, La La Land 2, Babylon 3. But from a filmmaking point of view, it's the reverse.
I would say La La Land, Whiplash, Babylon, but I love all three.
I love all three as well.
Okay,
that's La La Land's your favorite.
La La Land is the best, then Whiplash, then Babylon, but I do love all three. They're really good films.
And what's interesting is I read a review that said basically that someone like Paul Thomas Anderson romanticizes relationships, quirky relationships, and people coming together, whereas Damien Chazelle throughout his films romanticizes the idea of sacrifice and legacy. Whiplash, he turns away from his father to do this scene. La La Land,
they break up.
They break up.
Sadly,
Seb, turns to create his jazz cafe instead of following her to France, and Babylon is the same in terms of legacy, the legacy of cinema. The thing I felt with Whiplash and La La Land is it was a tighter film. The themes were there, and the relationships are all there, and I felt more. I felt more for the characters, and that was the only thing I was disappointed with Babylon. I didn't feel overly sad when. Is this a spoiler? Are we doing spoilers?
Yeah, sure.
Brad Pitt's character kills himself. Like, right. I really liked his character, but it wouldn't have been the same if Ryan Gosling's character killed himself, because you didn't have that same emotional connection.
That's a good point.
It was a facade of history rather than really getting down and dirty with what these characters.
Okay, well in that case, let me ask you this. I agree with everything you've said. And I also feel the same way. I care so much more about Andrew Neiman, which, by the way, it's actually Neiman, but J.K. Simmons, the character, says it wrong on purpose to intimidate. And that's in the whatever. But I care so much more about him than I do about Jack Conrad or whatever. But my question to you is, I think Babylon has Whiplash is the nicest steak and fries dinner you'll ever have. Babylon is the same steak, but you get 4 of them. By steak number 3, you're going to get full. And I think that's what Babylon is. Because it's snippets of a lot of really, really good stuff, but it might feel too much for some people. Yeah. And when you have like incredible food just kind of thrown at you, eventually you are going to get full. Yeah. And I think for most people, that might be the case. And you chunder it out like Margot Robbie does in the film. You know what I mean?
Last question. Don't go in depth. You can go for the best pictures. Just one answer. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or Babylon?
Babylon.
Theo, go first.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I need to rewatch Babylon. That's my genuine answer. I think that I don't know. Babylon impresses me more I think overall, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is like it's one of my favorite hangout films. I just have fun with it.
Well, Babylon, I think the difference is that Babylon loves filmmaking.
Absolutely.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood loves Hollywood.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
Good point.
But one thing I would say is, this is where we probably disagree, is I still think Tarantino and Martin Scorsese for Wolf of Wall Street are able to take sprawling films and still tie it all together so that the audience leaves going, wow, that was really good. Whereas Babylon, clearly 55% Rotten Tomatoes, Damien hasn't been able to get mass appeal for this film. He has, we all love it. We're all film fans and we are biased to Damien Chazelle because we've liked his previous work. But someone walking in who hasn't seen La La Land or Whiplash doesn't have that preconception.
I think that's a really good
and it's thrown into it. He's failed to capture, a story that is universally loved by everyone, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, I think you make a really, really good point. And just quickly, just to finish off this Babylon section, Babylon for me, when I heard that firstly, like I don't tend to look into films, especially films I'm super, super excited for. I don't tend to look into films that much nowadays before watching them. I only watch one trailer now, as like a one trailer rule now. For Babylon, when I heard that it was going to be rated like 18 here in the UK, it was like music to my ears, because it was like Damien Chazelle. Yeah, he's made Whiplash, but for me, it's like Whiplash is a film I know so well that it's almost like a part of me. So I don't even think of it as this like outrageous, I can't show this to kids kind of film. And then you go and make something like La La Land, which is like it was like a perfect film. It makes you feel good, but it also makes you feel really sad. It's tied up so well. Whiplash is tied up so well. And then he's gone off and done First Man, and of course it hasn't resonated or had the same reaction as his previous two films. And now he's done Babylon, which is, in my opinion, by far his riskiest film. He's taken the most risks.
I love how none of us are talking about First Man.
Go on, someone has to. I really like First Man. I'm just saying, it's his most risky film for sure. And I think I always really respect a director whenever they do take risks, even if not all of them pay off. And yeah, Babylon for me, like I think I had such a visceral reaction to the film in the cinema. I was laughing so much. Like some scenes, like I know, like a lot of people were complaining that they didn't really feel the emotion behind the film, but I got really sad like towards the end with the whole Nelly and Manny situation. And I think the music's incredible. I think Justin Hurwitz's score is always the beating heart and the through line of Damien Chazelle's films. It's just incredible. I think similar to La La Land, what you said about La La Land, it's like all departments of film coming together in such a beautiful and in sync way. And yeah, Babylon for me, like it was one of the most unique theatre experiences I've ever had. And yeah, I think Damien Chazelle, I have no, this is the beauty of it. I have no idea what he's going to do next. Like this is the thing. Every single one of his films has been different, and everyone always saying like, oh, he's doing jazz and this and that, and it's the same filmmaker. But if you really look at all his films, they are so different from each other. And when you can show that kind of diversity as a director, I think like, yeah.
If I was Damien Chazelle, I would just quit filmmaking. I've
basically done it all now.
with my career.
One thing weirdly, as you were talking, I was thinking Babylon and Tenet, Christopher Nolan's film, give me a very similar feeling in terms of I will go back and rewatch certain scenes, because I think certain sequences are fantastic. A lot of what Robert Pattinson, those scenes I always love when they're sort of doing the heist. And so I'll go back and watch certain scenes because I think it's just phenomenal filmmaking and a director who really understands how to sort of do a sequence. Yeah. But both of those films, I think, are directors when they get a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
And someone said,
do whatever you
you've
want.
called the protagonist, then it might be lacking a bit of character depth, or I think we can all see that with certain directors that their earlier work tends to have a little bit more heart, and then the more money they get, the more ideas they have that may lessen the integral themes of the film.
It's like Skyfall and Spectre. Exactly this. That's exactly your point.
So yeah, just to round this all up, Best Picture, what do we think is taking it?
Everything Everywhere.
Everything Everywhere.
Yeah.
Theo?
Yeah.
Triangle of Sadness.
Oh, is that like your pick, or do you think that's gonna win?
Oh, that's my pick. I don't think it will win. I think Yeah.
If you were to bet on
I
it.
think Banshees will win.
You think Banshees will win, but your pick is Triangle.
My pick is Triangle Sadness.
PANWA, your pick is
Everything Everywhere. If I had to put money on it, it would be Everything Everywhere.
But your personal pick also Everything Everywhere.
Yeah, it was my favorite film of last year.
My
Mickey?
favorite film of last year, I haven't decided, but it's either Northman or Triangle of Sadness. So of the nominated Triangle of Sadness, I do think Everything Everywhere will win, and I think it will be it will be a iconic win, and it should win, and I wouldn't be at all upset.
So, Mickey, your favorite film was a joint between Northman and Triangle.
Yeah, I haven't decided. I'm still working that out.
That's wow.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
some good choices.
I'm still like this year. I had like Northman, Triangle of Sadness, Babylon. I loved Cha Cha Real Smooth a
Right.
lot. So there's a few films there that I like adored.
Mm.
Guys, can you explain to me why Avatar: The Way of Water is on this list?
Oh, he didn't like. I forget.
yeah.
But no, just in general, like a movie of that scale, you know.
Yes, but it's James Cameron. You see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that it was nominated in 2009 alongside Inglourious Basterds, which should have won,
Yeah.
and The Hurt Locker, which did win.
Yeah.
So I think James Cameron will always have respect and
I
always have
remember
prestige.
it. I remember it as a kid. Even that year, Avatar was like a lock, and when Hurt Locker won, that was like whoa.
Yeah.
But that was so certain, you know.
Mm. And what's funny is James Cameron told Catherine Bigelow to go and do The Hurt Locker.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
she
He ended
did
up
it, and
beating
she
him.
beat him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would probably have to go with Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think it's the best film of the year. My personal favorite, I do really like Top Gun Maverick. It's just a personal preference,
I'm
but
so
I do.
glad it got nominated.
I am really glad as well because, and I really love the fact that Joseph Kosinski's received this reaction for this film. I think if Top Gun Maverick wins, I will laugh, but I won't be like super disappointed. But I think Everything Everywhere is
It's written in the stars.
It really is.
It would be incredible if it wins. Like it's you know, you said something about like the direction of the Oscars like being this like TikTok-y.
Yeah.
But if Everything Everywhere wins, that's a lovely direction to go into.
It is.
It's such a like small indie. It's the story's great, the cast is great. It's just like it is what these award shows should
If
be
that
about.
film
the
wins,
underdog.
everyone on the planet will be happy.
Yeah.
Except the
which
racists, of
which
course.
is
But you know,
which is fantastic. So not if everyone's not
I noticed one thing just quickly about All Quiet on the Western Front. That film had one producer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Poor bastard.
Wow.
Wowza.
Wow.
What a lonely speech that would be.
Yeah.
If they won. Yeah.
He has one producer.
Well, guys, I think we are going to wrap it up there then. We have discussed most of the categories. So do let us know and get back to us what you think, what your picks are. I just want to say a massive thank you to my 3 guests here.
Thank you for having us, Dylan.
Oh,
Nah,
thank
of
you.
course, of course. And thank you for
you.
helping me launch this and finally get this going. It's been so much fun. Thank you, Theo. Thank you, PANWA, and thank you, Mickey. All of their socials will be linked down below if you do want to go check them out. There are some really great, not just fellow film enthusiasts, but filmmakers themselves. Do keep an eye out for their work. I'm sure one day, I know we're talking about the Oscars in this episode, but I'm confident that one day we'll see these guys up there at some point.
Does Big Dog count as a?
For anyone who doesn't know, Big Dog is Theo's short film. Very, very good short film.
It's on Flick Fanatics.
Yeah, up there we go.
Channel.
Exactly.
It's tailor-made for Flick Fanatics.
It is.
Huge.
It is.
People who are
Oscar
fanatical.
I also want to say a big thank you to Joe, our cameraman, who you can't
Thank
see
you,
right now,
Joe.
who shot this whole thing. Couldn't have done it without him.
And the Cube.
And the Cube for
Cube.
letting us host this in one of their studios. But yeah, I think that is it, guys. I think we're going to
I
wrap
have
it
one
up.
more question.
Of course.
Could you tease what episode 2 of the podcast will be like?
I don't think he does.
I don't think I know what it
Or
is
then,
yet.
audience, what would you like?
What would you guys like to see me discuss
I want
next?
to tell people to subscribe.
Yes, subscribe.
Of course. You guys are doing my job
If
for
there
me.
is
Right?
anybody who deserves more subscribers, all right, it's Dylan from the Podcorn Pod.
That's very kind of you guys.
We're making the editing at the end of this difficult.
Yeah, I've got to get through a lot of films.
Okay, let's shut up now and then.
Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, listening, and hope you enjoyed the podcast episode. And please do look forward to many more to come. Like I said before, all the socials and respective channels will be linked down below if you guys want to check out any of these lovely gentlemen. And yeah, guys, we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you very soon in the next episode.
Ciao.
So cheers.
Cheers.